Salaki, it's just continuation dealing with the EU in World War III, right, which will involve, all the world superpowers. Just get interrupted there, but just continuing on here. It says the document doesn't mince words. Europe is facing a new reality marred with risk and uncertainty. Let's jump down. It says the EU Commission isn't asking citizens to prepare out of caution. It's a desperate plea to survive the opening salvo of a conflict they see hurtling toward them. Right? I read earlier, the proof man foreseeth the evil. So this is a direct warning. As it said, it's not a drill. Because oftentimes they will do that, right? They'll create drills and put it in the same location and time of the real thing, to where the people that's involved, they don't know if they're in the drill or if it's the actual threat. That's how Esau operates, because he's the devil, right? But they talking that talk. Those war drums are beating. It says, and it's not just Russia keeping EU leaders awake at night. Yeah, that bear. Because that bear, that's the one that's going to take America down. The bear is the one that's going to lead the charge, all right, in taking America down. As the scriptures say, Satan divides against Satan, how can his kingdom stand? Roughly paraphrasing. And see, so with Russia, even though that's on the eastern, or in the eastern hemisphere, the fact of the matter, those are Edomites over there. All right, those are Edomites. Right, you have Edomites over here that's in America. Basically, the American Edomite is the proudest of the so-called white people. But the Russians, they're like the most, I would say, militant, of so-called white people. They're mentally, tough, right, dealing with that cold and all that. But anyhow, it says, across the Atlantic, Trump's America has turned from ally to antagonist, leaving Europe to pay its own bill. And this will be one of the reasons why the scriptures say, and these shall hate the whore. Because America, who is supposed to be an ally, right, according to the NATO, right, because a lot of these EU nations are part of NATO, right, and as the treaty, documents, is that if one country goes, into war, they're supposed to get support. But reading here, it seemed like Americans leaving them high and dry. Go figure. Just like how a whore would do, right? You know what I'm saying? Leave you high and dry after she got, what she wanted from you. Anyway, the result, a frantic scramble to arm up, shore up defenses, and ready the population for a world where self-reliance isn't optional. It's the only lifeline left. The EU survival blueprint is as practical as it is terrifying. Every household must hoard enough supplies to weather 3 days of chaos. Food, water, medicine, blankets, batteries, the works. Right? In the case of extreme disruptions, right, it says the initial period is the most critical. The document warns. Translation: when the bombs drop or the lights go out, you're on your own. And that's all facts. You go right back to the Wild Wild West. Literally overnight. All this technology won't mean shit. It says, I like that. It says emergency services won't save you. So ain't no 911 because ain't no phone lines. Ain't no landlines, ain't no cell phone. All of that is obsolete in that moment. Alright? It says the EU wants you psychologically steeled for a nightmare where the society phrase and survival hinges on what's stashed in your basement. That's right. That is correct. You know. So you have Esau, who is carnal minded, you know. You had a lot of these heathen nations, you know, they've been preparing for quite some time, you know, actually building, you know, sheds, building, you know, bunkers, right, underground bunkers, whether, you know, in a backyard and all that, basements, you know, filling up the pantries, you know, they've been prepping, you know, buying ammo, you know, going out to the shooting range, shooting, you know, more often. Because even these heathen nations know what time it is, you know. You can feel it in the air. It says the EU wants, read that. It says, this isn't about weathering a storm. It's about enduring the collapse of everything Europe has taken for granted. Right? And America ain't gonna be no different. In fact, it's gonna be far worse because this is that careless, you know, city. You know, people in this society dwells carelessly. There is a carefree attitude. You know what I mean? It's all about social media, how many likes, you know, the next TikTok dance, the next fad, the next bullshit, basically. That's all these people care about. Right? Well, but when it comes to that real, when it comes, you know, for prophecy's sake, our people don't want to hear it. So they gonna find out in the moment, you know, which is the worst. That's the worst case scenario. You don't want to find out when it's going down. You want to, you know, you want to brace for impact. You know what I mean? But anyway, it says the commission even wants preparedness drilled into school kids, teaching them to spot disinformation and steel their minds against the propaganda wars already raging. It's a generation being groomed not for peace but for battle. That's right. Yeah, a little more. It says leaders who want war. Here's the kicker. EU leaders aren't just reacting, they're orchestrating. Germany's updated war plans last June unveiled by Interior Minister Nancy Faeser laid bare the bloc's mindset: arm up or be crushed. Ursula von der Leyen, the Commission's steely president, doubled down Wednesday, insisting that new realities require a new level of preparedness. But her words drip with more than urgency. They hint at intent. Why else push this hard, this fast, unless they're not just fearing war, but preparing to wage it? You know? So, hey, man. It's a little more, but that was a mouthful already. Let's get this. This is 2 Ezra 9. And one, and it reads, and he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High Yahweh spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. That's right. This is the Most High's movie. All right, these four wonders. All right. I quoted, mentioned earlier of Revelation, basically speaking of three woes. All right, you can read what's that? Revelation. Let's get that real quick. Revelation 11. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe, all right, is past. Again, the word woe means destruction. So we've had World War II, all right, 1939 to 1945? Something like that. It was 41 or 45, I forget right now. But, right, we've had that war. So, yeah, that's another thing. Like, it's been a very long time, right? And in that war, there's a gross amount of casualties. World War I, was obscene amount of casualties. World War II was even more, and World War III is going to literally trump, right, the kill count, right, in this war. But it says, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. That's right, and we here now. We're in those days. All right? This is why you keep hearing talks of World War III, nuclear warfare, all right, cyber wars, things like that, because that's what time it is. As the scriptures say, there's a time for everything. But right now, we're in a time of war. So buckle up, get your houses in order, stay spiritual, stand in the holy place, and beg for mercy from Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that root well. Peace and safety to the Akim that's pushing his word in truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.